absolutely everything you change as well. You just don't notice it, but like you change from day to day, from encounter to encounter. So it's in a sense like I love this life philosophy. It actually, I think it makes life easier rather than harder, because a lot of people cling on what they have or how the things are, and then like any change would bring a lot of like anxiety to them, or fear. But I think this is actually the art of life, the never ending movement.
To Jai Long, and this is Make Your Break. Whether you're a big hearted creative or an aspiring entrepreneur, let's take action on your dreams, reconnecting you with your why and giving you the how. I'm here to dish out actionable mindset tips and fun industry secrets to help you blow up your biz. From eye-opening reality checks to motivational gold, no two episodes are ever the same. So tune in weekly, skip the FOMO, and let's dive into the deep together. Hey Anna, so good to have you back on the show. Excited to talk to you today about creativity, about AI, and about maybe some tools that we can use and things like that. How are you?
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Actually, it's my first time on your show, I think.
It is.
So
I've actually wanted to get you on here a lot of times, so it's finally happening.
really.
Hmm. Well, we
Yeah.
had you at the Wedding Photography Summit, and I think it just didn't work out to get you on here yet.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I remember that one time. Yeah. So I'm doing really good. I'm really excited about this conversation. Thank you
Yeah.
for having me.
I think so many people are talking about AI right now, and so many people are scared of it, and there's so many different aspects to it. Like, I guess one aspect is how we can use it for our creativity, how we can use it to mood board or find new ideas, or put concepts into our work, how we can use it to automate our workflow and get back some time so we can get more creative. And also on the other side of it, it's like how it's going to kill our businesses, which is like so many people are like, oh my God, I'm a photographer and I think I don't know what's going to happen now. So what's your take on AI and with you and your workflow and how you're using it right now?
So I definitely think that we can use AI to our advantage. And actually, it's I don't entirely agree that AI should be creating art for us per se, like creating images or movies, or write the plays and stuff like that. Actually, the other day it was a funny meme that I saw. It said, "How about we teach AI to fish the plastic out of the ocean instead of it being a screenwriter, screenplay writer." So, but at the same time, I think that we can use AI to our advantage, and especially like in photography, because it helps us to save loads of time. Well, I'm talking now about the IMAGEN AI, right? And also during that time that is saved, we can actually mm, be even more creative, right? We can come up with the new projects, or um, just use this time to kind of educate ourselves and become our better selves. So yeah, definitely. I think if it's a helper tool, then I definitely if it's a helper tool, then I would definitely give it a go for sure.
It is fascinating, like you're saying, like why aren't we fishing out the, plastic out of the ocean, using it for a lot of good, and instead we're kind of using it to like create music and images and writing things and like all the things that we love to do. And it's so fascinating as humans that that's the first thing that we do. It's like, how do we outsource all the fun things? And then, and then we're stuck doing all the other things, which is so funny.
You know, Yeah, but when it appeared, like everybody was absolutely mind blown. I remember myself like looking through those images, and a lot of photographers started creating new profiles on Instagram just with the AI images, right? So for me, it was also like, oh my God, I can't even differentiate if it's a real photo or if it's an AI image. However, right now, I think everybody already kind of got a little bit tired of it, and like you can see straight. It's clearly that it's an AI image. So I think, in a sense, it's kind of, if it's not fading away yet, it will at some point. But in the sense of creation, right? If we're talking about the editing tools, I think it's a really, really amazing thing that we can use nowadays in the 21st century to kind of
Totally.
yeah, to kind of ease our workflow.
I think there's so many sides to it. Like one side, of course, I understand why so many people are scared of it, and I see how like there's when something's unknown and we're going into that and we're trying to work out like how can we make this work for us. And so often we sort of go to this default of like, well, I'm a photographer. It's never going to change because people are going to need photography. But I do think about like all the things that have changed over years. And one example is I know musicians right now, they struggle. And musicians a long time ago, when they used to have big orchestras and there was like classical music and everyone would go and watch jazz for a lot of years and stuff, used to think like, well, even though vinyl's coming out, people are still going to come and watch shows because they want to connect and have the experience. And then after a while, then it turned into a tape, and then it turned into a CD, and then turned into MP3, and now it's Spotify. And now so many less people are going to watch live music because they just whack it on in their car and they don't actually care about the experience anymore. They just want the product, which I find so fascinating as like over, 150-year kind of journey there of just like how something is evolved from one thing when we thought that would never change and would always want to connect with music in real life to where we are today, where a lot of the times we're just listening to music on our devices, which a lot of it for the last, 10 years has been processed with AI, has been processed with auto tune, has been processed with synthesizers and like ghostwriters and everything else that we're scared of, which I find fascinating.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really it's fascinating. I think it's great that we can access our favorite music at any point of time. Like I walk in the street and I listen to my favorite music and it just puts me in a good mood, or in the car or anywhere. However, I do think that like still majority of people would like prefer to go to the live concerts of their favorite bands. Like I don't think it went anywhere. Like probably, yeah, like probably not to the extent of, we would go to the orchestra like all of us now, because like the tastes change, the trends, the music itself evolves. And actually I do think that everything simplifies like over the years. Like, if we take the music, how it is now, right? The electronic sounds comparing to 200 years ago, or even photography photography, like painting, the abstract and the modernism and all of that, the architecture. So everything in a sense is going towards simplification, because maybe our minds became a little bit more complicated, or like we have a little bit more on our hands, and anxiety or stress or whatever. So we try to simplify everything in art, at least, or in the things that surround us.
Love that.
But yeah, but definitely, yeah, I understand your point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like there's definitely not less of a need of people wanting to go see live music, but we're simplifying our lives, and we always end up doing the thing that's easy, which is going for a walk down the road and putting on earpods and then listening to something.
Yeah. Which is amazing in a way, right? Like you
It
get so
really
much
is.
inspired, like so much more inspired by, yeah. And I think like music makes so much difference to everything. Like sets the mood. Like I use music all the time during my sessions, and I just cannot stress it enough how important it is. Because if like a lot of the times when we would walk in the streets with my couples, and I would turn the music on, like imagine the early morning, like teeny tiny streets, beautiful lights, and then there is like some vintage music playing in the background, and like people all the time say that they feel like they're characters of a movie. But if you don't have any of that, it's like just kind of plain, a little bit sad. Not sad, but like, um, not that exciting maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. One interesting thing, I've been around in the industry for so long now, and I do remember when people were like transitioning from film photography, and I'm sure this happened when it was like paintings transitioning to photography, and I was like, well, this is not a real image, And then film photography to digital photography, I do remember this big pushback of people saying like, if you're shooting on digital, it's not real. It needs to be, processed properly. If you're using Lightroom stuff, it's all fake. Photoshop's all fake. And then I remember like in my time as a photographer, I remember when presets came out and people were selling their own presets. So you could buy Jai-Long presets, you could buy Anna presets. And then there was this big wave of people going like, well, if you use other people's presets, you're not really a photographer, because now everyone looks the same, and everyone freaked out. And then with Photoshop, right? So Photoshop came out, And then people are like, well, if you're manipulating an image, is it a real image? Like, I don't think this is a really photography anymore, and it's something else. And we've had this conversation so many times, but like the technology always prevails, and then we always end up with something so much better. But what I find fascinating is with AI, it's actually not creating anything that we can't create without AI. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. So for instance, if I'm a photographer today, I can apply a preset, I can get onto Fiverr or Upwork, I can hire someone on the other side of the world that's amazing at Photoshop, and they can expand my images for me. They can add in things for me. They can already do all those things. The difference is now anybody can get into it, and the point of entry is lower. And like you were saying with the music, the point of entry is lower. I can listen to it everywhere, no matter where I am in the world, no matter how much money I have or time I have or whatever it is. Now I can access Photoshop and do things with stuff, and so can someone with an iPhone, and so can someone else. So I find it fascinating. It's like, are we scared of the technology taking over, or are we scared that maybe there's just going to be a lower entry point and more people using it, which we deem ourselves being less valuable than maybe? I don't know.
I'm not sure. Like, I never have felt fear, or I never felt scared about those things. I do think that there is a big difference between creating something quality or creating something really talented and just creating. So maybe that's why, like, when I think about it, like, yeah, of course anyone can enter, but then, like, would they be creating like real art, or would it be worth looking at, at least like in that's what I think in my head from my perspective. So that's why, like, it doesn't really scare me, just the same with the music. Like, anyone can record a song in their bedroom, right? But it doesn't mean you're gonna become Billie Eilish, right? So it's like it's this kind of stuff. And I do think that all these tools, in a sense, they do kind of like they help us ease our way into art, but it doesn't mean you become an artist. Does it make sense? Like, I think, like, even in photography, not everyone is an artist. There are photographers who are just photographers. There are photographers who are craftsmen, right? Like, they have their business, it's working, it's functioning, everything is good. They don't need anything else. But there are photographers who are artists, right? And it doesn't mean like one of them is better than the other one. It's just different types of people. And I do think like being an artist is actually like kind of a way of life, if it
Totally.
makes sense.
Absolutely.
Like the way you see it, the way you perceive it, the way you think all the time, the way you are in your head all the time. So yeah, so I think from that point of view, there is nothing to be scared of.
Yeah, so maybe the artist is less scared and the craftsman is a little bit more scared.
I understand. Yeah, that's your point.
Yeah, I find it really fascinating because the way that I look at this stuff is it's it's an amazing opportunity that builds on what I already know and what I already can create. And so an example of this is for me, like me sitting at Lightroom and editing a wedding for 20 hours is not actually what brings me happiness, but I do love going out and shooting and doing things. And so like having a platform, maybe like IMAGEN AI, for example, is like, how much time can I save by doing those things? And why would I be scared of that? Like, I wish basically what you're doing is you're giving yourself superpowers, because what you are doing is, if you're a solo entrepreneur now, essentially, if you use something like IMAGEN AI, just as an example, you're essentially hiring an editing team and you're doing it for so cheap,
Exactly.
and then they can edit. Now, for me, I have a full-time copywriter, and now like I have ChatGPT and everything else. But what's really, really important is, and I had to talk to my copywriter about this, it's like, it doesn't replace you, because someone needs to write stuff. Someone needs to prompt the thing. Someone needs to use it. And so for me, what it means is, now you have an amazing tool, and now I want you to use that tool. So then we also have a team of copywriters. There's no longer just you doing the thing. And so now we can like build on that and grow so much. Or another example is, I used to send something off to Photoshop if I didn't like it, but now I have basically my in-house team of Photoshoppers. They can just use AI, the single person, and then they can create something amazing from it. So all of a sudden, I've gone from a solo entrepreneur with not that much help to all of a sudden having access to so many things, which means obviously I can scale my business so much faster, or I can take back more time, or I can get back more into art. Is that how you feel with all the tools that are at your fingertips right now?
100%. I actually love your take on it. For as long as I remember myself, I always said that I would never trust editing to anyone else because it's such a creative process for me. And I do enjoy, like, yes, I do not enjoy editing a wedding for 20 hours. That's clear because also at the wedding, like when you edit a wedding, it's just a great lot of photos. And if you have 5 weddings in a queue, it can get really overwhelming. But so I never hired any outsourcing for editing. And at some point, like during the busy seasons, I was really, really exhausted and didn't have any time for anything. I would be editing until 2 a.m. and then wake up and then, do my stuff and go shoot again. So now, it's been a game changer, definitely. I do not edit each and every session with IMAGEN AI, but I do use it for the weddings a lot. I do use it for certain sessions a lot, as well. And yeah, definitely, it's a superpower. It's like unlocking a different level, you know, because they just send the photos in there. They edit in like they get it like I think from 200 to 500 photos get edited in about 10 minutes, and then you just check.
Wow.
You just go through them. You just check them, tweak
Mm.
something, and then yeah, export them and send them to the client. So I
I
think
mean, that's a game changer.
I know, yeah, I think it's an amazing time we live in. Like it's so easy to be a photographer and also actually have some time for your family and friends, you know.
Yeah.
Because I used to think that my friends see me from December to March. And then like I just disappear because I travel all the time and then I don't have any time when I'm at home. But it's been different for the past year. Um, and yeah, regarding the presets, I totally feel you. I was very skeptical about them when I actually got into photography. I was like, no, I'm not gonna buy any presets. Then I did. And then definitely the thing is like even when I do mentorings, I always it's not like I avoid, but I don't really like teaching the editing just because I think everyone sees color very differently, you know? And like I can appreciate like other editing of like the editing of other photographers naturally, but it doesn't mean I would do the same when I edit my photos, you know? So the same about like people who come to mentor with me. And that's why I think it's so difficult. Like even if you let's say sell your preset, it doesn't mean that there will be 100 photographers who would do exactly who would use exactly your colors because everybody tweaks uh the settings differently in the Lightroom depending
Mm.
on how they perceive the color, and what they want to communicate, like if they're intentional about it. The same with IMAGEN AI. Like now they have I think 16 profiles that they're selling and they're planning to put out more of them, and they actually got in contact with me and also asked me if I want to sell my profile too. Like we're talking about the color profile, right? That people can buy and actually have their photos edited the way I edit them, right? But the thing is that it's so much smarter than just a preset because a preset is what it is. Like it's basically just a set of certain settings, right? That are non, let's say, that are applied to each and every photo. However, with AI, it tweaks the settings itself because it learns from you. Like let's say, what kind of shadows do you use in a harsh light, right? What kind of contrast do you use for party pictures?
Wow.
Or what kind of,
Amazing.
like, yeah, like do you make your photos warmer or colder, like depending on the light? So basically it learns all that and then it applies automatically. And of course, like the best thing is that you can tweak it, like they just launched their profile adjustments, and what you can do is that when you buy a certain profile, let's say you buy my profile, and then you can go through it and you can tweak it to your like more to your liking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like you can like boost the grain, for example, or boost the shadows, or reduce the highlights and so on, and like make it more of a your look or what you imagine. So yeah, I think it's really amazing
So when you use
really amazing tool.
when you use that tool, like, is it sort of learning over time how you work? So then you can sort of like, give it less prompts and things like that?
Yeah, so before there were no prompts actually. They just launched them, and I think it's also kind of a game changer, you know. However,
Wow.
before you only could start using AI, Imagine AI, after you upload 5,000 pictures. So what you would do, you would like upload all your catalogs, and as soon as you reach 5,000 photos, then you can actually use it, because that would be the amount of pictures the software needs in order to start, in order to learn from you. I think now they reduced it to 3,000. So yeah.
It's unreal. Um, and what's really interesting? Like this is all new stuff for us to learn, but the next generation of photographers that are starting right now, they get to start with all this stuff. They don't have to unlearn anything. They literally just get straight in there. Imagine just starting, and then say you're a wedding photographer and you just walk in, take some photos, you upload it to your profile, um, edited in 10 minutes, exported. Like what a different life.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I think talking from my experience, I think the main idea is to upload the photos only that you're 100% satisfied with, like the editing of which, right? I think I had to create another profile some time ago, just because when I was creating my first profile, I was just trying to upload 5,000 pictures, and I would be like maybe not 100% satisfied with how they turned out, you know? So then the program would learn from your editing style. But then the second time when I created my profile, I was like, okay, I'm gonna be really curating now what I'm uploading. And it was it was so much better
Wow.
after that.
That's so cool. I'm so excited about all these different platforms that are out there right now that can help us. I feel like I'm showing my age here, but I remember when Instagram came out, and I was like, that's when I started my photography journey. And I remember, so I started Instagram, and for me, I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, so about 16 years now. So I started my first business, and I used to run ads in the newspaper, flyer drops, billboards. Like I did all of that
Yeah.
stuff, and it cost me a lot of money to do all that stuff. So when Instagram came out, I was like mind blown that I was able to have the power to share my images and my photography with people all over the world for free. And then they could comment on it and like it and then share it with other people and all this stuff. And I could not believe it. And so at the time, though, I was in this wave where I came in at the very start of all of that stuff. And that's where I started my career. But there was like a huge industry of photographers that were fighting it because they're like, what about like, my brick and mortar, this is never going to take off. Why would you put time into Instagram? It's a waste of time. And there was just like this massive conversation that was happening. And so obviously for me, I got on early and I skyrocketed and I rode the wave because I was there and I was excited and energized. Where a lot of people didn't go past that point. There was a lot of businesses that closed down and they finished and everything. And I do see right now being sort of the same thing. There's a lot of people that won't jump on and learn something like you're just saying, like, Imagine AI, like something like that. There's so many people that will be like, no, I'm not going to use AI. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. Like, what's the point? It's all fake. It's all this. And then you get this new generation or people like yourself and like myself that are like, man, I'm excited at these new tools. Let's go. And you jump on it and you see it as not you're insecure and you think something's going to rock your world and take your career away from you, but you see it as good because I needed more tools. I'm busy. I'm creating stuff, and so you've just freed up more time, and I see so many opportunities in all of this.
Yeah, of course. You see it as a helper, definitely. I think I think the resistance towards anything new is kind of is a quality that kind of integrated in us as humans. Um, and a lot of the times we have to fight it, and to kind of open our minds and kind of come out of our caves and our boxes, in order to understand that everything is ever evolving, everything is changing, the world is moving really fast. It was the same, when you were talking about the film photography, that people didn't want to start shooting digital. It was the same with film photographers before that, when everybody was shooting black and white, and then some innovators in photography world started shooting color, like so later, for example, like
Mm.
everybody was just avoided from him, from color images and on film. But yeah, I do think it's important to know, to be up to date with all the technology and to know what it can do and how you can use it to your advantage. Um,
Even just
because
on that, it's so
eventually,
funny. Like you're literally just saying that,
yeah.
like when they went from black and white to color, which they did with TV and video and films and everything as well. Like the
Mhm.
only consistent, if we go through history, this is why I'm never surprised by change. I'm like, man, the amount of times that everything changes, like the game changes and the industries change, and
Yeah,
like the things that we do change, the medium changes, is like it happens over and over and over. And so, can we expect everything to be exactly the same right now
of
forever?
course
Like
not.
no, and so
No.
it's never a surprise. It's like, of course, something just changed. Like
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
that's what happens.
Uh, Absolutely everything new change as well, you just don't notice it, but like you change from day to day, from encounter to encounter. So it's in a sense like I love this life philosophy. It actually I
Mm.
think it makes life easier rather than harder because a lot of people cling on what they have or how the things are, and then like any change would bring a lot of like anxiety to them or fear. But I think this is actually yeah, I think that's the art of life. The never ending movement. I think it's
Mm.
beautiful.
Hey, talking about tell me what you think about like AI creating art and people just creating straight up art from AI, as in like not editing your own images, not taking a photo, prompting and posting
Yeah.
and publishing.
So yeah, as I mentioned, I think I found it fascinating at first, but then I do think it's really easy to get bored of it. And
Mm.
I mean, to be honest, yeah, I don't think this should be the purpose of AI, like creating art per se, because then it's not that it will, get out like take a lot of artists out of business. It's just people will always feel the urge to create, to be the creators.
Oh, for sure.
It's
Probably
something
even
that
more
we
so
have
now.
in us. Yeah, exactly. And like every person is a creator. It just, we create different things. Some create ceramics, some create, new
Poetry.
technological tools, some poetry, some ideas, some, like we're all creators. So I do think like with art is the same thing. We will always have this urge, but I don't want to sound like old-fashioned or whatever, but I would prefer to go to a museum of the real paintings rather than AI created paintings, maybe.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, it could
I,
exist
I
as
mean,
an
I can
option.
I completely agree. And like I was talking about it with my partner the other day, kind of gets to a weird point where if I get online and I'm on the internet and then I start looking at all the photos, which a lot of my feed is filling up now with people posting their AI photos. I'm like looking for
Yeah.
some AI photos. I don't really comment on it anymore. But then I go and read a blog post and it's written by AI. And then I go and look at, something else that's created by AI. Then I'm like, wait a second, what's the point of being online anymore? If I'm it's like you're kind of going on there and you're literally looking at what the machine's making. It's no longer connecting the people or like you just don't know what's real anymore, which I find really fascinating.
Yeah. I think it's a really like honestly, I think we're living in a very interesting time. In a sense, revolutionary. Maybe we're not even like completely conscious about it.
Totally.
But yeah, it's a really good food for thinking. I think, yeah, I haven't like thought that much about it, like regarding the AI art and where it's getting and if it's good or bad or
Mm.
but yeah, I do think it's an interesting topic to kind of ponder over.
Well, one
Yeah.
interesting thing that I did the other day is I actually bought an AI art print, believe it or not.
Oh, you
Like,
did? Yeah,
yeah,
really?
I think I did. Yeah. It's really fascinating, but
From
to
who?
me, it's art and it's actually
Yeah.
really good art. And one reason being is because it's the very first time. I bet you not many people have bought AI prints before. So it's at the very beginning of technology, very beginning of this person calling themselves an AI artist and then creating something.
Mm.
And so it's like this stamp in time where it actually is art. Like I'm like, you know, like as soon it's going to be something where it's just like it's just created and the machine is so much more powerful than us. But right now it's like this person that's found something. They're like, yeah, they're experimenting with it. They've created something that they love. They've put it up for sale, and they're making money from AI. And I actually kind of like that too. I was like, oh, cool. Like this is, you know, you're doing something. You know, they were, I mean, they still are like a mixed multi-use, multi-visual artist. But yeah, I just thought it was like really fascinating, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna buy
Mhm.
some AI art. That's interesting. I've never done that before, and I don't think many people have.
Yeah, do you think it's temporary thing just because it's a lot of hype around AI right now? Do you think it will go away in some years? Like AI, this concept of being an AI artist.
Hard to see how it would sustain because I believe that AI is going to get so much faster and smarter from here. So,
Mm-hmm.
like one example is that so many people are like, AI is never going to be a good artist because like I've typed something in before and it gave me six figures on the picture. Like, look how shit it is. But what people don't realize in the little bleeper things, like we literally got, I think last week, like Photoshop just drops some new things where they're
Yeah.
actually using AI, and ChatGPT only came out
Mm-hmm.
like publicly like 6 months ago. So if you look at Google, for instance, like that's like what 20 something years old. Um, is it? Yeah, 20, yeah, yeah, around 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You look at something like that, it's like, of course it was crap when it first came out in 6 months. And people were like, that's never going to replace libraries and things like that. But then 20 years on, it's like, yeah, well, it kind of did because it got better and better and better and better. And I wonder if
And the
AI,
libraries still exist.
well, they do, yeah. And they're busier than ever before, funny enough. There's just
Yeah.
less of them. It's
Yeah.
kind of like you were saying before. Like the artists are still going to exist and they're going to be busier than ever. There's just going to be a lot less of all the crap that's in between. So with the libraries, there is libraries because people want to go to them. They want to read a book. They want to sit in that environment. Like they want to do those things. And there's less of them, but the ones that are there are amazing. And people go to those ones, but there's just not so many
Mm-hmm.
on every
Mm-hmm.
corner because it's got a less use case study case because you can just Google something. So
Yeah.
I think the same with the artists. Like I think probably a lot less people are going to be creating a lot of stuff, but then you're going to have the artists that are just like, oh my god, like that person's so busy because I fucking want a human to create something, and you've
Yeah.
done it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that would be amazing actually. And I think like maybe yeah, but yeah, honestly, like the more quality, the better. And I think a lot of people who, let's say, feel or think that they're not as talented as artists per se, or as creators, maybe they would opt more towards the AI art,
you know,
you know?
mm, well, you're just saying something interesting there that I'd like to dive into. Like some people don't see themselves as that talented or like whatever it is. And like with art or with creating something, a lot of the times, and correct me if you feel differently, but we have like where we have our vision and what we see, and that's our style and taste and what we can actually create. And we can never really like as much as we try and chase the perfect thing that we want to create, we're always behind it, trailing, so we're trying to like create the thing, but it's like, man, just if I could get a little bit better. But with AI, like people overnight, my wife was just telling me she had a discussion with someone that's like an AI artist that
Hmm.
created something, and they're like, no, it's harder than you think. And then she's like, tell me what happened. And she's like, well, the first thing I did is I told the prompt to create something the same as this artist from 1950, which I needed to know that person's style. And it's like, well, that doesn't make it harder. That just means you
Hmm.
were able to replicate someone else's style that was actually an artist
Yeah.
and then bring that in there. So it's a real fascinating thing with how we can actually like put in artists' prompts and use them as reference to create something. But overnight, our style and taste is like gone better than what we thought because we can write something in there and then AI is going to make something better than what we thought it was even going to be, which is a real strange
Yeah.
concept.
Yeah, definitely. And in a sense, I think like working with the AI and creating art is like finding this perfect recipe, and like being really good with words, because you have to find this word recipe of what you're gonna write, right? In order for it to create what you envision. But at the same time, with like real art, let's say even if we take Picasso, who started like from um, like quite realistic paintings, like quite academic paintings, and where it got him just because through his life, like his thinking process and a lot of things influenced. Um, and then like with AI, I feel like there is no, or like there is less room for this kind of evolution of an artist. Like if you take an AI artist, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, and that's
basically,
kind of what
how
I'm
do you
talking
do
about.
like,
You just missed out on
yeah,
all of that stuff.
yeah, so you like start and you're like, okay, I want to create paintings like Van Gogh, but what is the evolution? Like, are you gonna end up as Pollock or as, someone else? You know what I mean? Like, you're just gonna change the names of the artists that you want to replicate. This is just a bit weird. So yeah, I think there is a lot of like there's definitely a human element that is lacking in there and will always lack. And also in a sense, like all those pictures that I see on Instagram posted by AI artists, that to me they all look the same. Like I would never say, okay, this is that AI artist or this is this, right? Of course,
No,
like
no,
if
no.
they use like
At this
different,
stage, it all is the same for sure.
yeah, but even if they use different techniques, like some of them can have more realistic photos, some of them can have more fantasy kind of style. Like yeah, you can differentiate by the styles, right? But then you cannot differentiate by artist. You know what I mean? Like for example, if
I don't know. Did you see the
I
one
don't
that I
know.
posted today?
Honestly, no. Did you
We should.
post today?
Yeah, you should look at it. It's on
No.
my Instagram account,
Oh wait,
jailong.co.
wait,
Me sitting in Europe.
of yourself. Of yourself.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that I saw yesterday. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yesterday,
Yeah,
yeah.
I did.
See, I mean, you
Yeah.
probably knew that I posted that, so that's I'm an artist.
That was funny actually.
It is funny, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's funny.
Yes,
So many
I
flowers
mean,
itself.
it's such a fascinating story. Like, I mean, the evolution of an artist, and like one thing that I've always thought about, like with art. I don't know if you've ever done this, and this might just be me in my head, but you know how you're talking about the evolution. It's like someone started off as like a realistic painter, and they love it and they do it over and over and over, and after a while they start developing a style, and then they get more imaginative, and then they create something, and then they want to have the exhibition, and they get better technically and with their ideas and with their concepts and everything behind it. Then after a while, when they hit the highest peak, they follow all the rules. So you can always tell when someone's like starting out as an artist or creative because they followed all the rules. And then you can tell when someone's been doing it for a long time because they broke all the rules. And then, it gets more interesting when all the rules are broken. But a few times I've walked into a gallery and I've seen like a really famous artist post like a massive canvas and there's almost nothing on it. Let's just say there's like a dot on it and that's it.
Mhm.
And I walk up and some people go like, how could that person be an artist? It's just a dot. But when I look at that, I'm like, that is the highest level of art that you can create because that person had to go against all their training, all the stuff that they've done before, all the rules that they had to do, all the rules that they had to break, all the feedback that they've ever got on what's good and what's bad. And then they've just created something which goes against everything else. And so that's literally the hardest. And then you're getting judged by it. And it's literally the hardest thing you could possibly put out there. It's like going back to the full circle. It's like when you start off as a little kid, you just draw something small. And then your whole lifetime is like you building something bigger. And then at the end of it, you're like, well, I'm just going back to the simple thing again. Is that a weird
Well,
concept?
you know what? You know what? I think it's not a weird concept. I hear what you're saying, but like I think in that sense, it's more of a going against the flow, against the rules, and then training your um, how do you call this? Human quality when you just don't care about people's opinion or you're
Exactly.
super individualistic and so on. So I think it's more of a character feature that you like train or that you try to exercise or whatever more than art. You know what I mean? So those are two different things. Like you can be, let's say, Van Gogh in your own age when like he was breaking all the rules, but he was still creating amazing art that no one was creating. Like the style that he has, if like um that he has developed. And then it's another thing of going against all the rules by means of, putting a dot on a blank canvas. You know what I mean? So it's like a um, different level of artistry, and I do not know if I can call this artistry per se. Like actually, there such paintings exist, because I remember several years
Oh,
ago
yeah, I know they do.
we were in San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, and there was like literally just an empty painting on the wall, just white, and like me and Alex, me and my husband, we were just, staring at it, and then we just, stepped back and we were looking at the people, like, how do people react on this, like, just, it was interesting from anthropological point of view, like to see how people treat that stuff. And like a lot of them would just, stare at the painting and just actually like make like smart faces, and as if like there is like a very complex thought running behind it, like in the back of their heads. And it's just funny, it's just a freaking white painting, like there is nothing on there, like there is literally emptiness. And actually the description of it was that the painter listened to a tune. No, wait. A painter listened to a silent tune created by another composer, and that
Wow.
inspired him to create a painting that has nothing on it. So basically, music
But I
without
see,
music,
like,
and,
I
and,
see
and,
that
and,
as
and
like,
painting without painting.
well, it's funny because
It's
I
just
see it as
funny.
like the highest form of art. Like the reason being is because you remember it and you're talking about it now all these years ago, and then you
It's
looked at how
because
everyone
marketing.
else, yeah, well,
It's
no,
not
but
art,
like,
it's marketing.
no, but how did everyone else react? And art is the reaction of people. And so many of them, like I see people walk past and they're like, oh, okay, like next photo, next picture, next picture. But when someone stops and they think, and then they like laugh, and then they like get confused, and then they're trying to look into it too hard, and then you're looking at them, and then they're looking at it. Then I'm like, well, they've caused a reaction, and it made people feel something,
Yeah.
you know?
I don't know if it made people feel something actually, but I do think a lot of the
Well, you
times
felt
people,
curious.
yeah, I felt curious. But I also feel curious about a cat on the street. It doesn't mean it's it's a form of art. But what I'm saying is that I think a lot of the times people, when they don't understand something, they try to
Create something for it.
pretend, yeah, pretend, or kind of give an impression that they're actually thinking of it, or they're actually like there is a very complex process, that they're having in their heads. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, everything's just everything.
yeah.
What's really curious now is I don't know if this is sort of something that you find a little bit weird, but I have noticed a lot of like, so there's a lot of photographers that I love, and they shoot so much amazing stuff. Not just photographers, artists. There's so many artists that I love, and it could be digital artists, could be graphic designers, like whatever it is. And they're plotting along and they're creating their thing and they're putting a lot of time, a lot of hours into stuff. And then I've noticed there's a lot of people that are like creating, like say Instagram accounts and TikTok accounts that's just like AI art, and they're attaching their name to it, and it's getting fucking hundreds of thousands of likes, hundreds of thousands of comments, shares, and all this kind of stuff, and they're getting all the big attention. And it's kind of like, maybe did they take a shortcut, or are they doing it for that reason, or like what's happening there? Where all the artists that have been doing their thing, they're still just cruising.
No, I think it's because it's just trending right now. It's something like so new and so overwhelming for everyone.
Mhm.
That is just kind of hype, so that's why like it gets so many likes and so many views. I think we should give it a little bit of time. Of course, like if AI comes up with something absolutely new and fascinating and fabulous in the next couple years again, like something that we've never seen before, like it will be
Like a
hyped again.
Terminator.
But it's yeah, like just robots walking the streets and creating art, or like 3D stuff or whatever.
Us going to
But
the
yeah,
exhibition and looking at it.
yeah, definitely. And then yeah, so I think that's why it's so popular right now. But
Hmm.
I don't think it will last forever, just like anything.
Yeah.
Um that the trend will last forever. Or yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. All really interesting stuff, hey. And it's like just as an educator, like I'm in all the Facebook groups looking at all like what everyone's scared of and what everyone's talking about. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then like everyone on both sides of the camp, people that are pro, people that are against, people that are early adopters jumping in. Entrepreneurs. The funny thing is, like an entrepreneur is like an entrepreneur is not a business owner. It's kind of like saying like all creators are artists. They're not. And all business owners are not entrepreneurs. And an entrepreneur like thrive off change because that's like all entrepreneurs, if you've looked through history, they make billions of dollars whenever there's a recession or something goes wrong or COVID happens or whatever it is, no matter what. Business owners go out of
Definitely. Yeah.
business. Business owners go out of business, but entrepreneurs find a way because all they're always looking for is they're opportunists. They don't care about a challenge and then they're always going against the grain and they're looking for change. And that's why I always say like creative entrepreneurs is because a lot of the times like it doesn't make sense in a business sense to start a photography business or something else. There's so much competition and there's everything else. But an entrepreneur would do it because they love doing it and they forge their own path and everything else. So in times like now, you do see the entrepreneurs that are rising up and they're creating like amazing work with the tools that are out there, or they're adapting into their workflow and they're able to boost their income by booking more clients, or they're able to get more creative or do whatever because they've got like a better workflow and they're using the tools. And then you get the other side that are putting themselves in turmoil because of the fear. And as you know, we create our own reality. So this fear that shouldn't be there has all of a sudden made it even harder for us to run our business and even harder for us to be an artist because we've got more things to worry about and more things to be anxious about. So I find it really fascinating, just this seesaw between the two groups of people and how we all react to the new things, the new landscape that's there for us right now.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it has been always among us, right? And it will
Totally.
always persist. It just depends how you yourself perceive it. Yeah, like when I was starting, like I never was the you know the the smartest, the swiftest entrepreneur. I do not consider myself so much of an entrepreneur even right now, although I do have a successful business. But yeah, I think when I was starting out, and I started in Barcelona, which is a big city, and it has I think it's like number one, or together with Madrid, at least in Spain, where it's the most concentration of all artists, filmmakers or photographers or painters or whatever. And when I was studying photography, I was never thinking, oh, there's so much competition in Barcelona. There is just so many people who create things. Like I wouldn't just think about it at all. I would just focus on my stuff and
Totally.
kind of, yeah, when you go, I would imagine myself like when you go through jungle, and like the lianas, the branches just hit on your face, but you still have to go through. You just close your eyes and you just drill through.
Mm.
So that's the kind of feeling I was experiencing when I started photography, because for me it was like either I do it or I just die, because I don't want to do anything else. It was just there was, you always talk about the plan B, that it's not good to have a plan B a lot of the time. So I do feel exactly the same. So it was just plan A and I have to make it. And I always give an
Yeah.
example of one of my favorite bands, Placebo, who after their university, like after they finished university, they started a band just because they didn't want to go to office, you know
I love
and
that.
like now they're yeah and like now they're the world stars, the rock stars, and just tour all over and so on. So I think it's really, really important to just focus on what you do and give 100% of it, of yourself to it, right? And just mind your own business. And I think that's exactly, yeah, like
It's just fun. It's just mind your own
yeah,
business. It's
yeah, just mind
100%
your own
true.
business.
Yeah, 100.
Yeah,
Literally, that
you know
word, like that saying, is mind your own business, right? It's like get in
yeah,
there, mind your own business.
literally.
Literally,
Yeah.
mind your own business. I love that so
Yeah,
much.
so and kind of always think like what you can do better and how you can educate yourself and where you can, evolve and develop. I think this is what propels you, not thinking of, that there is so many people around around me that create the same thing, or yeah, the competition, or like scrolling through Instagram all the time and like just getting jealous, or getting, the imposter syndrome and stuff. A lot of the times when when people I mentor with, they ask me like if I have imposter syndrome. Like, I sometimes even am a little bit shy to acknowledge that I don't. And it's not because I'm the best or I consider myself the best, of course not. But it's just because I don't have like the tendency to compare myself a lot to other people, you know what I mean? Or like
100%.
to
I'm
just
literally
sit
the
on it.
same. I never have imposter syndrome
Yeah.
because I'm like, I'm
Yeah, or
not an
like sit on
imposter.
Instagram. Exactly. Yeah.
I'm
That's one
doing me,
way.
man.
That's one way to, yeah,
Yeah.
to see that. But yeah, you just like, don't like the time that you spend on Instagram scrolling, like you can just go read a book, or start studying new artist, or just creating another project of yours. So yeah,
Love
definitely.
that.
I
I
think it's
also think.
amazing. Yeah, I think. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go. You go.
No, I just wanted to say that I think it's really, really important to be up to date with what's happening around you, and to be inspired by other artists and to admire them. Because like a lot of the times when I listen to interviews of like filmmakers, like the other day I was listening to Fellini, and he said, like, somebody asked him, who are your favorite directors right now, like, at this age and time, and what are your favorite movies? And he said, like, I don't really watch many movies. And to me, it's like, um, how come you don't watch many movies? I mean, you're a filmmaker. You have to watch movies.
Mm.
It's like silly to say you don't watch movies, or like it would be like for us to say, oh, I don't know any photographers. I don't really see like photographs, social media or whatever. But yeah, of course I do. But it doesn't mean I do it all the time to compare myself. You know what I mean? Does it make
Yeah.
sense?
And I think like whenever someone is getting fearful for what's out there, or like you're saying, like with your business or whatever it is, and going back to the placebo band, you need to go back to your why, because the band placebo could go like, oh my God, there's too many bands out there. I'm an
Mm,
imposter. I'm not as good as them.
of
But if
course.
they go back to their why, they're like, well, we started this so we didn't have to go get a real job, and we're
Yeah.
succeeding. And so it's like, just
Yeah.
let's just go back to that. And so often, like as photographers, like we're all, or whatever that you do out there, it's like you go and start comparing yourself. Like, I should be having more followers. I should do this. I should do that. And I should be on AI, and I should not be on AI, and blah blah blah. And it's like, go back to why you started this, and is that why to like get into a marketplace and start comparing yourself to everybody else, and then start feeling shit about yourself, and then thinking you should be on anything? Because I don't think it is, and I think you need to go back to your why and mind your own business. To
Yeah,
steal Anna's
definitely.
words there. I love that.
I'm happy I contributed a quote to your podcast.
Yeah, I love it so much. Okay, let's wrap this up. Where can we come over and say hello, see your work, and send you a DM?
Okay. So I have this tool. It's called Instagram. And I'm O Ginger on Instagram. And I have several names for my business, but yeah, just a bit silly. Um, but
So
yeah,
what's all your
so
names?
my name is Anna, my name is Ginger Size, and my name is O Ginger. Actually, yeah, it's funny. I didn't like kind of shorten it down to one, but it looks like it's working anyways. So yeah, come say hi. I would be really, really, really excited to hear from you guys, and hear your thoughts on AI, and in general, just connect with you. I love connecting with artists and creatives from all over the world. So I'm always open to communication.
Oh,
And thank you
Ginger,
so much for
Ginger's
having me.
eyes. Anna, thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you so much. It was really, I really enjoyed this conversation. I think
It's funny because this is the exact conversation that I wanted to have right now, and you're the exact right person to have it with as well. So I think it was just a really fun conversation where, yeah, there was just so many good concepts.
That's great to hear. Yeah, I think you can just, go on and on about those topics and kind of philosophize. I think it has a lot of room for philosophizing. Well, philosophizing. How do you say that in English? So yeah, thank you so much, Jay, for all your ideas and concepts. It was really great to hear them. And yeah,
Great. Thank you. See you soon.
okay. Thank you. See you.